Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining this session. I'll be doing a demo of the integration between Teradata's VantageCloud product and Azure ML. My name is Mike Riordan. I'm with the Teradata product management team, our advanced analytics team. With that, let me share my screen and we'll go into the demo. I want to start with explaining the partnership that Teradata has with Microsoft and Azure. Our data platform Vantage will run in the Azure cloud. We can share data with blob storage in Azure with our native objects connector. And today's demonstration is now going to show our new, what I call an API integration between Vantage and analytic services running in Azure. And essentially this gives data science teams the ability to leverage rich enterprise data within Vantage for their data science work. They can train models, deploy models, then to endpoints, and then a business user running queries on the Vantage platform can then send data to that endpoint, do the analytic calculation, and return those results back in the query. So essentially, we're putting real-time analytic scores into the hands of the business users simply by running queries against the Vantage Cloud Lake platform. So this opens up many use cases. For example, business analysts can run the latest analytic scores to forecast next month's supply chain, for example, or customer service representatives in real time while they're on the phone with the customer can execute that analytic service to get maybe a next best offer or update a customer's risk for churn while they're on the phone with the customer. So it opens up many use cases. And from the Teradata side, we're embracing that analytic ecosystem. We understand our customers are leveraging many analytic platforms to bring new value to their business, and we're embracing that, and we're making the integration of that Vantage data with all of those external analytic services as seamless as possible, so we can deliver the most value to our customers, and they can then use those analytic results to drive their business outcomes. So I have a simple graphic here to show, really to walk through it. But if you think of those business users on the left that are executing queries all day long as part of their job, they're leveraging all of the capabilities that we have within Vantage, the scalable SQL, traditional SQL value of integrating the data, as well as our own built-in analytic capabilities. But again, to repeat, if there's an external service, if there's an analytic service developed in Azure ML and deployed as an endpoint on the Azure cloud, we're going to enable them to go send data to that service and bring it back, and then they can integrate it with other workflows. And the demonstration that I'll show is the ability to make that almost transparent to that business user that their data has even leveraged one of these external services. So I do like showing this in a Jupyter notebook. I think we all probably agree it's a great vehicle for doing presentations with live queries. And you'll see if you look at the upper right corner, this notebook is running the Teradata SQL kernel. So everything you see will be a live query that I submit to the Vantage platform, and we'll bring those results back in this demo. So the primary use case here, just to be clear, is the scoring of models. So, we tried, there really are two primary use cases. One is the model training and all that data science work for data scientists to leverage different algorithms really to find that final model that they want to promote to production. That's one use case. The second use case is the one that we're focused on here, which is how does the end user then consume that analytic service? So to be clear, this API integration, the prerequisite is that a model has been trained, deployed, and now as the business user, I just want to consume that service. So this demo here, we'll look at it's a financial fraud demo. So we're going to leverage an analytic model that scores financial accounts for risk of fraud. So as I come here, I'm going to execute my first query. So you can see from my Vantage system, I have a table called new financial transactions. So we'll just sample 10 records of that, and here I'll execute. And these are now the results that just came back to us from our Vantage system. And you can see this is an analytic data set, right, that was prepared for training the model. So I have this sort of record ID or, account ID on the left. And then as I go through the features, I have average payments in 5 months, the credit utilization. I get into, let me scroll over here. Okay, I'm having trouble scrolling. But it builds out this profile of the account where, how many payments have been made in the last 7 days, in the last month, right? All this, the rich data that you would get from the data system to build out this training model. And then the data science team leveraged that, trained their model. And in fact, I'll show you a snippet of the code. So this is an example of the Python code that was used by data scientists to develop that Azure model. And scroll through this here. What I really want to highlight then is the deployment. So the model was trained, right? It's one that's been promoted, and then here's the deployment step. And what I need to know from that data science side is really what is the endpoint that I want to use for scoring. So out of that model and the deployment, right, this becomes the endpoint address, and this really is the key from the Vantage side that. When we make that API web service call, that's the address that we'll send the data to, and that will then return, this real-time scoring from that service. So as I scroll down here, now I've put the hat back on as the business analyst, and in this fraud case, or in fact, we call it a bust-out fraud case. So this is a credit line that's consumed very quickly. It was fraudulent. The customer's gone, right, and the financial company is left holding the bag with the right, the credit line that was taken. So we talked about this API integration, and in fact, within Vantage, it's a function, and I'll show it here in this SQL, and it's just called API request. So from a select statement, I'm just going to make a call to this function, and I'm going to pass in the data that I want to score. So this gets back to the financial data that I want to score. Here's that endpoint, right, that the data science team, when they deployed that model, here's that endpoint that we needed. And then here's the token that I need to access that service. And by wrapping it in a SQL view, and that's called Bust Out Fraud Azure, as an end user, when I'm now writing my SQL code, that's all I need to know. I don't need to know it's this API request function. And that's what I meant earlier, that this can be transparent to the end user, that this is just a view that I could now leverage in my daily work, and I can join that with other data. Transparent to me that I'm sending data out to that Azure endpoint. So as a user, very simple. In this case, I just did a select star from that view, and here are the results that came back. So in this case, our model was a simple binary classification model, and was that is this record a fraud risk or not? And it really is this true or false, or 0 or 1. So you can see the results here. But as an end user, right, as I said, it's now a simple view to me. So I could take this bust out fraud Azure view. I could now, and here I'll run it while I'm explaining it. I can now join that with all of my other data within my Vantage data platform. So in this case, I want to get the credit limit for that account. I want to get the latest end of month balance, and then I'll do a simple calculation to combine that credit limit and the balance to get a percentage of the account that's been consumed. And then I'll bring back that score from Azure. And as you could see, this came back. I now have what I call, this is an actionable list. So as a fraud analyst, here are all of my accounts, and here's the data that I joined from my Vantage platform. Right, again, this end of month, credit limit, the percent used, and then is this account a fraud risk or not? So very somewhat boring, right, financial profile report here, but it's actionable. I can now, as that business analyst, I have a real-time new fraud risk score leveraging that service that's running external to my Vantage platform, where I could take action, right? I like to say slice and dice this, right? Which accounts have I now caught early? For example, this one is flagged as a fraud risk. It has a $10,000 credit limit, right? Only 13% of that credit line's been used. Let's take some action before any more credit's used and go verify that account. Others, right, we'll see that in this down here, fraud risk, oops, it's 95% of the credit line has been used, right? So that's a bit too late, right? I want to take action and right minimize my exposure. So like I say, it's very actionable, and it's combining right that rich set of data that's on the Vantage system with all these external services now from Azure endpoints. So again, our overriding message is we're here to help our customers get the most value from their data, and integrating with Azure ML services, right, it's just a great way to bring new insights to that data and enrich that data, so that ultimately it's all about helping our customers and those business users to drive outcomes with real-time analytics. And when I showcase this story, there's really two parts. So this API integration, I think that's a great low hurdle way to connect data with those services. It's fantastic for tactical queries. If I'm sending, tens, hundreds, thousands of records, right? The latency, right, is not an issue. But if there's the use case then that I want to now score, right, millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of records, right, then let's, instead of pushing the data through this API integration, let's look and see if we can bring those models into the Vantage platform. And that's what I want to show next. And this is also, right, an integration with Azure ML. Let the data science teams leverage all of those tools, generate a model. But if the use case is I want to do large scoring, now I can leverage really the parallel performance of Vantage, right? So for large scale data scoring, right, the Vantage parallel platform really excels in that use case. So in this case, we've taken that same model that we showed with the API integration, and we exported it as an Onyx model. So one of the analytic features of the Vantage platform is this BYOM, bring your own model. So it's a framework for doing that scoring, and it's actually very simple. There's two parts to it. The first part is what we call a model table, and it's simply a table in the database. In fact, let me query this table here. And it can be as simple as really these two fields. One of the first is a model ID, or think of that as the unique identifier. So that's the name of my model. And the second field is a blob field where I store the binary model. So if I can export a model in PMML format or Onyx format, H2O AI, we're doing work with other leading what we call native formats from third-party tools. Simply bring that model into Vantage, and then combine it with the second part of our BYOM framework, which is a scoring function or a predict function. So in this example, we have a function within Vantage called Onyx Predict. And the two inputs are, the first is what data to be scored. So here's that new financial transaction table that we showed earlier. So that's the input. And then which model, right, to be used to score the data. So this BYOM models table that I showed just in this prior step, and then our model name was Onyx Model. Those are the two inputs. And I'll run this, and you'll see it. And in this case, we're going to score 5,000 records. And there they are. And the output from this Onyx Predict actually comes in JSON format, right? So you can imagine, right, as we're doing more sophisticated models, right? The output, right? The classification, right? Maybe it's not binary, right? Maybe there's, 5, 10, 10, potential labels, right? What are the different probabilities, right? So we're using JSON to capture the output, but then we can simply parse that to make it more usable for the end user, leveraging the parsing capabilities of the Vantage SQL. So here you could see I'm selecting that record ID. There's the raw JSON report output. And then I parse that out twice, one to pull out the prediction, this label out field, and the other is to pull out the fraud score, right? So the likelihood of fraud. So here, actually, again, this becomes an actionable list. I could now join this back with those other tables that we used earlier with credit limits, end of month balance, right? All that other data within Vantage. And I could now start to, right, so, I could use different thresholds, right? Am I only going to target the 90% likelihood or above, or 80%, or right, whatever. However, the business analyst wants to leverage this to get value to drive, right, to drive their business outcome goals. It's there, and again, it's just taking that model that was trained in Azure ML, bringing it into the platform, so we could now score in parallel at scale. So if the use case is I need to score, right, 100 million accounts on the hour, right, we could do that within Vantage. Do I need to score it in the half hour, every 15 minutes, right? Do I need to do a batch of 100,000 real time, right? That's when the high performance of our platform, right, combined with that Azure ML model come together to really help our customers accelerate those all their AI ML workloads. And that's the end of the demo. I want to take a quick look here for any questions that have come over the chat. Or if you have any questions, yeah, please post them, and I think we've got time to go deeper in some areas and answer any questions that you have. So I'm looking now. I don't see questions, or I don't know, Anne, if I've missed any, but yeah, we'll wait. But
And Michael, I was going to suggest if anybody wants to raise their hand and come off mute, go ahead and do that, and we'll go ahead and facilitate that. Thank you.
I think we're seeing the power of the Jupyter Notebook format. It's very clear, well explained. Good. I see questions coming in. How can you learn? Yes, please contact us. We have Teradata.com. Actually, there's it's called quickstarts.teradata.com, and that's what we call our developer portal. And in fact, you'll see some blogs and some training material there to go, to see some examples like I just did. Docs.teradata.com has all of our user guides, and there's a whole section on analytics where we'll walk through not only this API integration, but also the bring your own model framework. There's more information about some of the machine learning functions that are also in the Vantage platform. About a month and a half ago, we branded our analytic capabilities as ClearScape Analytics. So that's also something else that you could, a quick web search there, and you'll find more information. And we do have courses, so we have what we call Teradata University. So yeah, please look there. I welcome everyone here. Contact me. I'd be happy to help that way as well. So the second one says, so the model's already trained. Yeah. So in this use case, we leveraged. In fact, I'll bring up the sort of the data science Python here. This was trained in Azure using auto ML capabilities. So that first use case, right? We like to say, integrated data from Vantage, right? We could do data prep, data cleansing, feature engineering within the Vantage platform, and then we can send that data, through our native object connector to Azure. Those data science teams can then pick it up as a training data set, do all their data science work, their training work. So let me see if I can make this bigger. Right, so here, in fact, is the notebook that was used for us to build out this demo. Right, so any Python, Azure data scientists here, hopefully this looks very familiar. Right, but that was the prerequisite. The model was trained first and then deployed. And what we're then highlighting is that second use case where, right, those business users can now consume those analytic services. And right, and I like to highlight operationalizing those models, getting the output into the hands, right, of business groups. That's when all these data science workflows, right, prove their value, right? When it can be picked up by the business, the analytic output is then combined with becomes input to other workflows, right? And that's how companies accelerate value from these analytic workloads. Good. So, Anne, thank you for pasting those links. Yeah, any other questions? Let's keep scrolling down here. I think we'll see the auto ML part at some point. Okay, I may give up here. It's quite a bit. And then here's that deployment snippet that I showed earlier. If you had to pick between Onyx or H2O, which one's better? Yeah, I don't know if I could pick which one is better, right? But do the champion challenger. Look at or actually, if it's the same model and pick a format, interesting. I don't know. Performance-wise, we're seeing excellent performance with the H2O AI format. So if it's the same model and in either format, yeah, good question. I mean, you could bring both in and do your own performance analysis. I do know firsthand that our H2O predict function is highly performant, but I'm just saying that with never really putting them head to head. Yeah, and then this question I see next about the auto ML. In fact, that's how this model was created, and I scrolled by it. I didn't see it, but we leveraged the auto ML on Azure, and that's what chose the best model for us, and then we exported it, and that became the API demo was that model on as an endpoint, and the BYOM was that same model. Yeah, good question. Yeah, any others? Feel free. Don't be shy. I'd love to see comments. Can you see the value of, in fact, both of these integrations? Hopefully, some here may already even be thinking of some use cases that you might want to try if you have a Vantage system. And but yeah, anybody want to even feel free to give me some comments. They don't have to be questions. And we talk to customers, we really highlight the Vantage as an operational platform, right? It's again, it goes back to the not only the at scale scoring of the data, but it really immediately gets those analytic results into the hands of business users and integrated into other other workflows, right? That whether it's forecasting, retail demand or predicting fraud or next best offer for customers, right? As soon as we score that data, right, it populates another table or it becomes an input into another operational workflow, right, to help drive the business. So that integration, I think, is where that value, I like to say, it becomes 100x. Let's see, AutoEMMA, can I do concurrent model system? I'm not sure. We can, yeah, if concurrent means can I be scoring many models? That answer is yes, right? There could be a dozen queries at a time, right? Scoring different models, right? So that's, Teradata is known for high concurrency. So I think if that's the question, yeah, it's certainly not a single user system, right? We support thousands of users across the enterprise. They could all be right leveraging the API or this BYOM scoring. So we do support very high concurrency, if that is what the spirit of that question was. Is there a marketplace of trained models? So the second part, is there a place for beginners to learn? Yeah, again, I want to point you to that quickstarts.teradata.com, and that's where we're collecting demos and collateral to really help our customers learn about these new capabilities. And is there a marketplace of trained models? You know, I think that the spirit of bring your own model is bring it from either you've developed it, right, as this example did in Azure, or you have a model from another marketplace. If you could take that and, again, those supported formats, that PMML or Onyx or H2O AI, bring it into Vantage. So we don't have Teradata doesn't have a marketplace, but you know we're embracing that whole marketplace. So if there's a external model to bring value, bring it to Vantage, right, and then we'll combine the data with the model and do the scoring. Yeah, those were good questions. Yeah, again, I welcome anyone to reach out to me. Michael.Riordan@teradata.com. Yeah, I'd love to hear feedback or help you as you're trying to learn these new features. Do we pay as you go or charged when the model is running? Oh, that's interesting. In the cloud, yeah, it's the compute, right? So it is only as the model is running, right? The Vantage payment model there is it's all about like any other cloud. It's CPU cycles and data storage. So the Vantage data platform is running, right? So those queries only charged by the CPU that they consume, and only when they're running. Yeah, that was a very good question. Yeah. We have a last question or two. I think we're at the last minute here. All right. Well, if that's it, yeah. Again, I want to thank everyone for joining the session. I hope it provided value. I really wanted to drive awareness of this integration, right? So the Vantage platform, again, we have our own in-database analytic capabilities, and BYOM, right, being I think one that we showcased here, but embracing that ecosystem. We open and connected analytics is a theme that we share with all customers, and we're here to help customers get value wherever that analytic service is. We want to help them bring value back to their Vantage data. I think are we out of time? Is that?
We have 2 more minutes.
Okay. Because I see there's one vertical scaling. Yeah, in the cloud, actually, that would be a whole other session. The Vantage Cloud Lake has one of the components now is what we call a compute cluster. So you have your core, what we call a Vantage primary cluster, which is the SQL engine execution, and then the ability to scale up and scale down, right, these compute clusters. So as these analytic loads increase, right, scale up as needed, and then scale down when not. So it really has all the full elastic capabilities that you'd expect from any cloud solution. So Vantage Cloud Lake certainly includes those. Thank you all very much. Thank you. I'll leave with that 100% thank you at the end. My pleasure.